Good morning. My name is Chris Fox, and I have no fancy intro music today. Mary's on a vacation. She is in Minnesota visiting her best friend, and I won't have her back until next week. So I thought about not recording a video, but I had just kind of discovered something that I thought was interesting, and I wanted to talk about it. So I figured, what the heck? I'll do like a raw and uncut video. So today what I wanted to talk about is the formation of religions. This is a topic I have been studying recently. It is an aspect of world building that fascinates me. And it may not be relevant to every branch of fiction, to every genre, but it certainly is to mine, and I find it interesting. So hopefully you find it interesting too. Anyway, one of the terms that I happened across was cargo cult thinking. And oh boy, did that start me down the rabbit hole. Because I had heard the term before, and I loosely understood that it had something to do with the Pacific Islands and World War II, but I didn't really understand what it meant. And what cargo cult thinking means is when somebody accepts that repeating a series of steps will get the desired end, but they don't understand why those steps do what they do. And most of us have had, coworkers that we've worked with where, maybe they repeat a procedure at work and they don't really know why it does what it's supposed to do. So if they're committing an error, it's not clear to them why the process isn't working because they don't really understand the process. Well, that's what the term is used for. I wanted to know about its origins. And so I started watching documentaries and, reading Wikipedia posts and just kind of browsing all over the place. And to boil it down simply, in World War II, we hopped from island to island on our way to mainland Japan, our goal being let's bomb Japan. Well, to get there, we needed airstrips on a whole bunch of tiny little Pacific islands that had their own native tribes. And these tribes didn't have a lot of contact with the outside world. They weren't used to seeing anybody at all, much less GIs bringing these fantastic luxuries they'd never seen before. Try to imagine encountering chocolate for the first time. So they really enjoyed some of the stuff that the GIs would bring, cargo. And so that term, it proliferated the islands, and lots of these native tribes got interested in it. And through the course of World War II, they became accustomed to receiving regular shipments of cargo to these islands. But then all of a sudden, the war was over. The GIs left. And so these tribes were left on these islands, and many of them did something interesting. They started building effigies of planes. So they would build their little mock-up of a plane. They'd build their little mock-up of a control tower on the old runway that the GIs used to use. If the GIs had left behind, let's say, a headset, they would put that headset on, they would sit in the air traffic control tower, and they would ritualistically repeat what the GI had said when the plane was about to land. They were trying to summon the planes effectively to get the cargo to come back because they didn't understand really why cargo was dropping off in the first place. The GIs didn't really tell them. And so this was their best approximation. All they know is these GIs showed up and then the cargo started coming and this is what the GIs did and we'd like the cargo to come again. So it's a totally natural conclusion to leap to. But you can see they didn't really understand the steps involved. And so now they've effectively created a religion around doing these rituals, trying to produce an outcome that will never occur. And for modern anthropologists, this was fascinating because you don't often get to see the formation of a new religion. Scientology leaps to mind, but there's not too many young religions left in the world, and it was really kind of fascinating to see how this one developed. I thought the whole thing was interesting. If you know more about the cargo cult situation and have studied it yourself, I'd love to hear more about it. But I thought it was fascinating because what it really shows, and it's a tool that we can use as writers, is that many people, especially if they're apathetic about something, if they're disinterested in their job, then they're more likely to just follow a set of steps because it's easy. You don't have to think about it. I do A, and then I do B, and then I do C. I turn on the TV, and then I hit menu, and then I scroll down 3, and then I click on Netflix. You get these little rituals. But if your Apple TV won't boot, many people are like, well, what do I do now? We don't take the time to critically think and try and solve things on our own because our society actively punishes that. So I see more and more cargo cult thinking in various corners of the world. And it's great for me as a fiction writer because I can harness that for my stories and talk about the perils and risks of a society that repeats steps without really understanding what those steps do or why they achieve the desired outcome. Anyway, I have no idea if this is interesting or not. You probably won't see another rambly video like this for some time. I found this topic interesting. Hopefully you did too. You guys have a great week. I do need to get back to the writing. I am, waist deep in the Arc War, and we'll be sending out some sample chapters to fans of Deathless this week, so you'll finally get to see a little bit of content. Anyway, I am going to get back to the writing, and I will see you guys next week.